awareness functions as a survival mechanism and so on, no? How it helps me survive. But then I can say, but still, it's not clear why should I be aware of it? Why can't we do it as a simple blind mechanism which perceives the danger and gives the signal, take, you know what I mean? The raw fact of awareness is an enigma. But I don't agree again with Chalmers' conclusion, where, as you probably know, his idea is simply that to the fore, I think this is the weak, strong atomic force, gravity, whatever, magnetic force, that the only solution is to a kind of a, it's ironic how, as a big idealist, he ends up in a way in a strange mixture of idealism with the most vulgar materialism. He says that the only way is to grasp awareness as simply another fundamental natural force. It's literally, quintessence. You know what quintessence means? The fifth essence. So that on the top of, the four ones, the weak, strong, atomic force, and what? Magnetic and, what's the other sheet? Gravity or what, no? That to this four, we should simply add another fundamental force. But I think this is precisely the false issue. He simply,
You mean the standard theory in physics?
Yeah.
Forces?
Four. There are four.
Yeah.
And now we all know the story. Superficially. The big problem is how to unite them and all that and so on. And here interesting things happen. This oscillation about string theory. First it was winning, then it was losing. Then some 10 years ago it was winning, but now this is the stock market tendency in quantum physics. Now it's losing again. And it's very interesting what's the latest tendency, I was told. There is a wonderful term called, how shall I call it, Ptolemization. Ptolemeus. His was geocentric system. And then there were new and new data which didn't fit it. So, to maintain his model, he had to introduce more and more complex supplementary hypotheses. So the idea is that, yes, we have a problem, but that string theory is not too radical, but not radical enough. It's still a Ptolemization, it's not yet Copernicus. Ptolemization, which is why they need all this shit, 10 dimensions, and the tragedy is that it's not only that we cannot measure them, they even didn't devise a possible experiment of how to measure and so on. So I like this speculation. The idea is that we will have to wait for a much more radical revolution, and the hypothesis is that one or two, either time or space will have to go, probably time. That is to say that one of these very elementary constituents of reality will have to be erased. Now, finally.
To get back to your fundamental theory about a failure that accounts for at least the question of why consciousness.
Yeah.
This reminds me of Julian Jaynes,
Who is this?
Julian Jaynes, The Origin of Consciousness and the Breakdown of the Bicameral Mind.
Yeah.
The idea was that it's a little
Yeah.
bit like the research on mirror neurons.
Yeah.
This is a kind of fundamental breakdown, and because the brain needs to talk to itself, neurophysiologically even, this is what creates consciousness. It's kind of like a materialism, but not exactly. Do you know that?
No. I only know I know this idea of. Is he the guy who claimed that, for example, prior to ancient Greece, people simply were still bicameral, in the sense that they for them simply, for example, what they experience as sacred and so on, consciousness, it was simply another power.
So culture becomes the stitching together of
these
two consciousnesses.
Not spontaneous. What's only my problem here? I'm afraid of a temptation here. Temptation in the sense that, these theories are so attractive that we, bluffing philosophers, are easily seduced, and oh my God, then you link this to Hegel. I don't know if you have this expression. If you are too pretentious, we in Slovenia, we have this, back to obscenity, we have this expression, you think you are holding God by his balls. So I like the theory. I'm just simply skeptical in the sense of how tested it is. scientifically. I know that wonderful things, Catherine Malabou, that Hegelian brain scientist, convinced me that wonderful things are going on now in brain sciences on the top quality, especially about this, we all know, this so-called plasticity of mind, no?
Neuroplasticity.
Not only this vulgar plasticity in the sense of transfunctioning and so on, but all the stuff which makes it very easy and nice for a Hegelian like her to. So if you want a good book on Hegel, again, look at, it's published by Princeton University Press. Okay, the title is The Future of Hegel.
What's her name again?
Malabou, Malabou. Catherine Malabou. It's translated in English. What's also very good is that it has a long introduction, which was originally in French, a review of the book, a long introduction by Derrida, which is a wonderful text. You can see that you cannot oppose in this simplistic way Derrida versus Hegel. Hegel, total metaphysics, everything is swallowed by the idea. Derrida, no, something remains, and so on. Derrida is almost reconverted Derrida to Hegel, because Derrida was, if you read him closely, was all the time much more ambiguous towards Hegel. For example, a standard deconstructionist would tell you the basic mechanism Hegelian of is Aufhebung, sublation. You took something and you elevate it, internalize it through idealization. But then it appears that the basic motive of deconstruction is, but this sublation, the reduction of the otherness through mediation, internalization, never fully functions, there is always a remainder, and so on. So it appears as if the ultimate push topic of Derrida is precisely anti-sublation, anti-Hegel. But no, already somewhere in his early works, I don't know where, forgot, Derrida says that sublation, what Hegel calls Aufhebung, is so close to difference that the line is almost imperceptible sometimes. So again, Derrida always emphasized that, he even says sometimes that maybe Hegel is not the ultimate idealist, but on the contrary, the point where metaphysics comes closest to deconstruction. No. Okay, but listen, we get lost here. Let me do some work. Hegel today, and maybe a little bit tomorrow, and some ethics. Okay, so I want to begin with, again, the basic difference between this kind of organic evolution and what Hegel means by a dialectical process. Organic evolution is, to put it very simply, a self-deployment of a global universal principle. At all levels, at the individual level, you have an organism. Of course, everything changes, your stuff changes, you are in contact, but through all these gradual changes, the organism survives. This, like you have a certain, we cannot say universality, but encompassing entity, the one, how the organic process is how the one survives through the continuous generation, corruption, and so on. Things change all the time so that they remain the same, how should I put it, no? And even if we move from individual level to the higher level of a species, you can say it's the same. It's that individuals die, are born, struggle, but precisely through this very constant dynamic process, the species remains the same, sustains itself. And this is what people usually understand by dialectics. How you don't have, on the one hand, the stability of some universal principle, and then the irrelevant empirical movement, but that an idea is alive precisely when it maintains itself through its dynamic. But for Hegel, this precisely is the limit of nature. Let's put it in this way.